Hey, how's it going? My name is Jason.
My name's Alyssa,
And we're Solar Revolution, Episode 2, Climate Change.
Alright, so climate change and global warming often get mixed up and used interchangeably, but they each have their own distinct meaning. Just like weather and climate sometimes get confused.
So global warming refers to an upward temperature trending across the entire Earth since the early 20th century. And it's most notably since around late 1970s, though we did find information going back to the 1950s. So due to the increase of fossil fuel emissions since the Industrial Revolution. What climate change is climate change refers to the broad range of global phenomenon, creating permeability by burning fossil fuels, which add heat trapping gases to the Earth's atmosphere. These include the increase of temperature trends described by global warming. It also encompasses change such as sea levels and ice mass loss. Some of the current areas that is being affected is Greenland, Antarctica, the Arctic, and the most of the mountain glaciers worldwide. So that's up in the mountain areas, ranges. And it shifts the flower plant from blooming of seasons, and it changed the extreme weather events.
Alright, so snowpack is a large amount of snow that's compressed by its own weight. It's one of the starting issues of climate change. Water it creates supports the nearby land and animals. It's a regular occurrence at many mountaintops. During the winter and spring, it melts and creates groundwater and runoff streams, which provide water nutrients to nearby areas. There's a high currently there's a high decrease in snowpack on the mountains. So this map shows us state by state the amount of snow water that we're getting. So this is going to be 1971 to 2000, and then this is the area we're at right now. These are the projected losses in the coming future.
Yeah, you would think we would get a little bit higher with the projection when it comes to like Flagstaff and getting more and more snow. But in New Mexico, is also really low.
Yeah. So overall, we're losing. But yeah, New Mexico is supposed to be the good area for solar. So.
Okay. All right, good to hear. Good to hear.
Yeah. So a frost-free season is the time from the last day of the cold season to hit 0 degrees Celsius to the first day of a cold season to hit 0 degrees Celsius. So it's going to be the months in between those days where it's warm. This period of time is lengthened, which puts stress on crops, and this stress on the crops requires them to have more groundwater, which they are losing because of the lessened snowpack. This is a real situation in the Southwest because here it's already dry and warm. So if you're interested in why we should care about coral bleaching, it's because it's a visual indicator, something we can see the change from climate. And most of the extra heat generated by climate change has been absorbed by the ocean, which is what causes the coral bleaching. The changes in the ocean temperature increasingly impact weather and climate for decades to come. So this is something that we're going to see continuing on.
All right, so going into the coming from coral bleaching, we're getting into some animal behaviors. So when it comes to food and water sources, the warmer water temperatures will cause a population declines. When it comes to trout and salmon, there is a lot more on the list, but these specific ones need colder water temperatures in order to survive. The melted Arctic ice removes hunting grounds for the polar bears. which is very common. You've probably heard all the, say, the polar bears and whatnot. When it comes to global warming, they're one of the heavily large species that are being affected by it. So climate change also has an alteration on the food availability when it comes to migrating species. That means birds to insects when they change when they're eating, they drop seeds. So that will change the fluctuation of where is getting forests, where aren't creating forests. Then flowers will change their migration routes. The um, the blooming will become too early or it'll become too late. So that's when it comes to the mild winter causes the season fluctuations, which changes your wildlife species. And I know that affects the gray jays, depending on the food store to survive throughout the winter. Some more animal behaviors is a drought could dry up 90% of the central U.S. wetlands, eluding essential breeds like ducks, geese. I know they have another humongous list on that. These are just a few examples. The raising sea level can also change the salt change in the water, which can change the mangroves or forests, can leave many fish, shellfish, and other wildlife without place to breed, feed, or even raise their offspring.
Okay, so natural disasters is another issue that we can see with climate change. This includes hurricanes, tsunamis, flooding, rising sea levels, earthquakes, volcanoes. And what causes these is water vapor in the atmosphere. And there seems to be an increase in ocean evaporation and water vapor in the atmosphere.
So hurricanes and tsunamis are going to become more affected by becoming more stronger and more intense. The frequency will be heavier too, so that's mostly in the North Atlantic increase of hurricanes around that area. They say the categories will become 4 to 5s, which have all increased since the early 1980s. High levels of water vapor in the atmosphere will create more intense rain and snowstorms. That is hurricane associated storms intensity, rainfall rates, and projected to increase as climate continues to get warmer and warmer.
So there is hope. Some things can be done to lessen the problems caused by climate change. Looking at other energy sources that don't cause carbon pollution is a big one. That's hopefully what the U.S. will continue to be doing in the
Hopefully we'll
coming
see.
years.
We'll see.
Being conservative with our current polluting energy sources is a good idea. Being conservative with our water use, because our clean water is going to be less and less is going to be available. Adding groundwater to areas of drought. This is like literally pumping water into the ground in certain areas where there's a lot of drought. Preserving land masses, replanting, and reintroducing wildlife in certain areas.
So what do you think is going to be the best, like, out of all those situations, if you don't mind me asking?
If I had to pick one?
If you had to pick one, like, what would you think, like, you would want to see a change in? Like, would you want to see the change in more, like, renewable energy, or would you want to see a change in, like, the land mass, of preserving the land mass, like, native land and stuff like that? Or would you want to see, like, what would you want to see the most change in?
Well, if I could count on a continuation of like renewable resources, then I would say adding groundwater to areas of drought. If, say, I can't count on a continuation of like new energy sources, then I would have to say that, you know, that we should continue trying to do that.
Yeah, I would like to see a lot more net conservative use of water usage. I would like to see more precautions when it comes to our water that we have. So like our rivers and streams, like you see, you know, the Dakota Access Pipeline, you know, going over the waters, you know, that having an effect on the water. Or I'd like to see more regulations on our actual water and our rivers and the pollution that's being put into those.
Yeah.
I think just because that's a humongous situation. Our water's kind of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to see that. As much as I want to see renewable energy get a lot bigger, it's more or less to me kind of seeing that, which I guess it goes hand in hand.
Yeah. They kind of follow each other, but it sucks because the water that we do have, we have less of it, and now it's also being polluted at the same time.
Yeah, so I guess it does definitely go hand in hand with your renewable energy being a lot. If we focus on renewable energy, maybe our water pollution will decrease. And that's just me making a quick thought process idea. So that'd be interesting to see. Fred had to ask that.
So some of the organizations to check out are going to be U.S. Global Change Research Program, National Center for Science Education, Environment Arizona, Arizona Native Plant Society, Arizona Open Land Trust, Groundwater Awareness League. There's many more at this website at the bottom. Let's see here. So Arizona Native Plant Society has awesome habitat restoration projects, including the stuff that we were talking about earlier, which is like reintroducing plants and wildlife. And then the Arizona Open Land Trust actually this year won the 2016 National Land Trust Excellence Award. So they're doing some great work.
All right, so these are our sources we used. We do have a lot more other sources that we do have here. And, maybe we'll click them to the link if we're on YouTube, so you can get more involved. I think you're going to probably want to put this on YouTube. So maybe she'll throw some links up there on the organizations. I'll throw that back up there too, so you can maybe get more assertive and go out there and try and do something about it on your own time, and volunteer and hey, get involved. Yeah.